Well, so I went around writing the speech, and I practiced that speech over and over and over again till I knew it backwards and forwards, and I had it committed to memory. But when that day came, and I had to get up to that podium, I was petrified. You know, there's that fear again. But I got up to that stage, I took a deep breath, I set my note cards on the podium, and I delivered that speech clearly and distinctly without one mistake.
Wow.
I had the audience. The gymnasium was silent. And you know, I won. The first girl to win the Civic Oration Contest presented by the Modern Woodmen of America, 1966, Suzanne Chavola. Some people think they've created a monster, though, because I have a hard time giving up the microphone. But anyway, I was on top of the world. But I had worked really hard at something, and I had succeeded.
That's right.
And if I hadn't have tried, I would never have known. Do you ever wonder why you have two people in a room? You can look at two people with the same education, the same level of intelligence, and they work just as hard. But why is that one person over here successful and the other person isn't? You know what I think it is? I think it's their willingness to take risks, to get outside of your comfort zone, to do things that you may fail at, but also to do things at which you may succeed. You know, mentors come in many different shapes and sizes. Some help you with your professional life, and some help you with your personal life. But without their guidance and support, your life, you know, would be totally different than what it is today. One of those other mentors in my life is my husband, Earl. He truly has been my biggest fan, a partner, and a source of support for me. Not only in my professional career, but in my second career as a wife, a mother, and a community volunteer. You know what they say, behind every successful woman is a strong man. I think it goes the other way around, but I think it really plays well to this audience. So, in fact, it was Earl that suggested I change careers from being an accountant to being a stockbroker. Because he knew that I wasn't happy. I was traveling a lot, and I was gone all the time. And he said, you know, you're really good at it. You make good money, but you're not happy. And he was right. He helped me in that career move, which was, again, scary. But it worked for me. It was the right move. Then later on, he told me the real reason he wanted me to be a stockbroker. He thought that if I had a job that I talked all day long, that by the time I came home, I would be so exhausted that he would get some peace and quiet. And then he admitted, he said, yeah, all it did was make you stronger. But thank you, Earl. Another person that's made a big difference in my life is my nanny, Ruth Jackson. And Ruth, wave your hand over here. Aww. She came all the way down here. Now, you may wonder, well, you were poor when you were growing up. You didn't have any nannies. And I said, well, I call her my nanny because it was almost 21 years ago to the day, Ruth, in May 1988, that I hired you to be a nanny for my daughter, Erin. And little did I know that it was Ruth that took care of not just Erin, but Earl and me too. When she first met me, I remember this, she walking up the front walk, and she said, here I am in my robe. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was home on maternity leave. I had a colicky baby in my lap. I hadn't taken a shower for days. And she looked at me and she said, girl, you're a mess. She tells me that too all the time now. But she was right. Talk about being out of your comfort zone. You know, getting my MBA didn't prepare me to be an MOM, let me tell you. But Ruth came in and she took over, and she taught me a lot of things about being a good mother and a good wife. But also, there was one important thing she taught me. She taught me, above all, to have faith in the Lord. She said, take care of others, and the Lord will take care of you.
Wow.
She's crying over there.
Yes.
She says, woohoo! Now that's a mentor in my book.
That's right.
Now, what does this all mean to you? I want you to think about how you feel today, excited about the future, maybe a little afraid, and maybe you have many personal challenges and educational challenges ahead of you. But while you may not realize it, we are envious of you. You are young, you're resilient, and you have your whole life ahead of you. But it's not going to be easy. There will be many obstacles that you will have to overcome. There will always be those people who don't believe that you can succeed. They may not even know you. It may be the color of your hair, where you went to school, how much money you have, what you look like. But these people are not to be listened to. You need to ignore them and go forward.
That's right.
You know, there was a woman in my past like that. She never knew me, but she didn't like me. She decided we were going to be failures in life. She was a rich old lady that Father Freeman had asked to pay for the 4 of us girls to go for our private education at Loretta Academy. And she said, well, Father, what are these girls' names? And he said, Kathy, Susie, Nan, and Carla Sciavola. She said, Sciavola. That's Italian, isn't it? I don't like Italians. It'll just be a big waste of money. They'll never amount to anything. Well, I was student council president, got all kinds of math awards and a scholarship to Rockhurst College. My sister Kathy was Miss Loretto, had the lead in all the school plays, and got a scholarship to Oberlin College, a very prestigious school in Ohio, for her voice. Now, did we accomplish those things to spite her, this old lady? No. We did them in spite of her. So, let me just say that you have these obstacles, and one of them is being a woman. You know, when I was your age, women were having the big women's rights movement back in the 60s, and we were fighting for basic rights. And since I worked in predominantly male fields, I knew firsthand how hard it was to be a woman in a man's world. You know, but 40 years later, while we have made great strides, we're not there yet. I mean, last week I'm watching the Today Show, and Brian Williams gets on and he says, and thank God it's not Fox News, but anyway, Brian Williams came on and said, next week we're going to do a series of exposés on women making a difference. I thought, well, Brian, are you going to do a series of exposés on men making a difference? Doubt it. And then here I am at the bookstore on Monday, and I'm looking at the magazines, and the current issue of Town and Country, a predominantly women's magazine, and it's the special philanthropy issue, that's a big word, Time to Give Back. And in this issue, there is the CEO of Goldman Sachs, who has decided that he is going to invest $100 million in women. And it quotes it and it says, now he's a man, of course, that betting on women, he feels that they will be an important economic engine in the 21st century. I mean, where has this guy been? Under a rock? I mean, I have to say that Martin Matthews made a good point back in year 2000. I'm sure Barbara had something to do with it.
Way before then, he started.
Oh, okay, but it used to be called Mathews-Dickey Boys Club. Now, Mathews-Dickey Boys and Girls Club. Yeah. So thank you. But another big obstacle, and this is the last thing I want to say, is that we are in very scary economic times. The stock market has had historic declines. Stores that we grew up with, Circuit City, Linens and Things, they're vacant. Millions of people are out of work. Chrysler's gone bankruptcy. The Afghanistan war is still waging, and we still remember 9/11. And you know, when I grew up, it was the same message of doom and gloom. It was the Vietnam War, the Civil Rights Movement, the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and John F. Kennedy.